Welcome to Indianapolis, the heart of motorsports in America. Renowned for its deep-rooted racing legacy, the city is home to the iconic Indianapolis Motor Speedway, a venue synonymous with speed, precision, and adrenaline. This weekend, the storied circuit welcomes the Ferrari Challenge Series for the 6th round of the North American Championship. After a season of fierce competition across the nation, drivers now prepare to conquer the legendary 2.5-mile road course where every corner tests their skill and determination. As the unmistakable roar of Ferrari engines fill the air, one thing is certain, it's time to go racing at Indianapolis. Hello everyone, a warm welcome, warm being the operative word, to this fantastic place that is on the bucket list of so many motor racing drivers and fans. It is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It is round 6 of our Ferrari Challenge calendar for 2024. What a place this is. There's the Pagoda, very famous, and as you can see, round 6, having been to Circuit of the Americas, Laguna Seca, Montreal, Watkins Glen, Sonoma. Here we are then ahead of the Finale Mondiale event, the final round, round 7 in Imola, the Emilia-Romagna region of Italy. Look at this, downtown Indianapolis. What a place this is, and can't mention those words iconic often enough. Here is the track then, and it's a difficult one to master, and you can see there's some 14 turns as the inner road course actually shares some of the action with the oval here. It is a phenomenal track that the drivers are going to have to master to get the best out of it. I've been here with the Ferrari Challenge a number of times, and it never ceases to impress. Track temperature 36 degrees, air temperature 25, and there's about 9 kilometers per hour of wind, as you can see, allowing the flags to fly high on the grandstand here, and nearly hooked that one, sir, if I may say. Tony Villander is alongside me here. And Tony, you're in a gun seat position to really give us this track because, of course, you're here and you're driving this weekend as well as being on the air with us, and we're delighted you're here.
Yeah, that's true, Dave. So actually, it's my first time in Indianapolis. I've been here once for an SRO prize-giving ceremony a few years back, but I've never been on track. And yesterday and today, already this morning, I was out there with the AF Corset 296 GT3, and yesterday with the brand new Dragon Speed 296 GT3 all white livery. We'll get some more color into next week's IMSA race, but yeah, the track is not easy. The layout on paper looks pretty simple, but on track you really need to nail those hard braking zones. For example, going into turn 1, turn 12, turn 7, so you lose the racing line a bit, there's no grip. Then corners that with a long rotation, you really need to trust the rear of the car. And after, there's always a long straight. So whoever goes on throttle first gets more speed to the next straight line. So very difficult track. Like I said, looks very simple. 14 corners, let's go. But to do a quick lap in qualifying, you need to be on it.
Thank you, Tony. He's insight across the course of our programs, and also with insight down there in the hot seat, but standing, I'm sure, is the wonderful Shea Adam. Hello, Shea.
Hello, Dave. Good morning to you and Tony both, and welcome to one of the most iconic circuits in the entire world, the Yard of Bricks, right here. This is where everybody dreams of kissing as a kid. When you start to find out about racing and you find out about Indianapolis, you immediately start to begin to dream. What would it be like to drink the milk, to kiss the bricks, to experience the epicness of winning at Indy? And today, we will get 6 different drivers across 6 different classes who will get to experience that a little bit later on this afternoon. But before we begin, we have to start with qualifying. And the first cars to go out for qualifying will be the 488 Championship and the Shell class, which has the best opportunity for a different champion. It will be crowned tomorrow, either Matt Dalton or Geerdes van Slovis. Very tight competition between the two guys. It begins right now with qualifying. Who can gain that extra point for getting the pole position? And will it possibly make the difference at the end of the season for who is crowned champion?
Thank you, Shay. You're absolutely right to identify the fact that the competition between those two drivers has been really, really exciting during the course of the season. And the first part of the competition is underway, Tony, because, of course, in qualifying, not only do you need to set the fastest lap to give you the best grid position within the Shell category of the 488 Challenge cars that we can see here, but it also gains you a point for qualifying as well, a point for pole position. And, you know, here at the sharp end of the championship, particularly with the 488 Challenge cars, you've got to bank every point that you can. So additional incentive, but additional pressure, I would suggest.
Yeah, the pressure is the right word. You go to the closing stages of the championship, and when you are fighting for the win, it just takes you to another level, and you just want to get back in the race car and do those fast laps. Yes, 1 point for the pole is very important, but it's great to see that the battle has gone throughout the championship, and we are at the closing stages of the season, and we are still fighting for that overall win, so that's a great thing.
And we have a lot of cars out there on track and a very short qualifying session in terms of time, Tony. So track position is everything. Finding clear tarmac, obviously bringing tyres, brakes, etc., everything up to temperature. That's what the drivers will be going through right now. Then it's a question of working with your team to ascertain and identify when is a good time for you to begin a really hot lap. I love that camera position where we can really see them coming off that final turn and really putting their foot down. And this is an extraordinary track. I know we wax lyrical about it, but I've had the privilege of having gone round this track in a truly super Ferrari car, and it is absolutely mind-blowing. Turn 1 here always reminds me a little bit of where we were last weekend at the Nürburgring, in that, you know, you're running a little bit downhill. It's a very, very tight right-hander, and there are so many lines that you can take through there, but there's only kind of one optimum one, Tony.
Yeah, true. For the race start, the turn 1 is a very difficult one. It gives you the temptation to brake and outbrake the other drivers, and when it's just 3-4 cars side by side, normally that doesn't end really well. For the qualifying itself, track position is the key. We do have long straights, but it's a very fine line between the slipstream that really helps you, and then to have a clean racing line and do your own pace through the corners. So we already saw in the images that on the warm-up laps they are very close. Cars are close to each other, and you are trying to find that optimum track position. Drivers do know the opponents, who is the quickest in category, who has the pace. This car has a little bit less lap time, so I better get through him now instead of my flying lap. So there's also some strategy involved always regarding qualifying.
We're watching Gary Ott, who, of course, set the campaign off in startling fashion when he won the very first race at the Circuit of the Americas. And Gary has not taken a win since then. He's had a podium, but Gary Ott then, he was the first to cross the line with a time of 1:32.688. Already that's been bettered by Hopkins with a 1:31.239. Two drivers in the 31s. They are Hopkins and Hurd. So the Foreign Cars Italia driver and the Ferrari of Atlanta driver, they're the first to set those times in the 1:31. So we're watching the car of Gregory Hopkins right now, who's currently P1. He, of course, will be trying to improve. It always amazes me, Tony, they really take that chicane full chat flat, don't they? You don't live there. You just trust in the car, trust in the grip that is available to you.
Yeah, it goes with full throttle, but when you ride those curbs, even if every lap it gives you the confidence that everything goes smoothly, you still want to hold that steering wheel. If something happens when you land from those curbs and you upset the balance of the car a little bit, but like you said, it goes with the full throttle, and it's a cool part of the track. You come from a very long right-hander where you need to trust the rear of the car. Earlier you get on power, more speed you have in the end of the next straight line. So very technical also, this Indianapolis racetrack.
You made a very good point when you were describing the 14 turns, 5 left, 9 right-handers here around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. On paper, it looks a fairly simple track to be able to nail, but actually when you get into the nuances of this track, you can see there the dust being kicked up where you come off the inner part and then back onto the oval again. It's very, very easy to get that wrong. And Tony, dare I say it, at the exit of turn number 14, there's a very hard and unforgiving concrete wall.
It is true. It goes full throttle, but you really need to have the right racing line, place your car over that inside curb. You can ride close to the wall in the exit, but you need to leave a little bit of space. And obviously when you are in acceleration, third, fourth, fifth gear, and the wall just keep coming closer, it's a feeling that always gives you a little bit of emotion, but it's a great track.
Matt Dalton then is currently second fastest. So we watch the car of Steve Blevett here, driving for Ferrari of Denver. His best lap time thus far, a 1:35.318, and already half of the qualifying session in terms of time is gone. Now, where is Gerdus Venslovas? Currently sitting at P6. I know you know Gerdus very well, the Continental Autosports driver. He's posted a 1:29.2. Best time, only one driver into the 27s. That's Gregory Hopkins with a 1:27.838. Matt Dalton is next closest with a 1:28.847. So Gerdus has got to find some time from somewhere here.
Yeah, for sure. With the Ferrari world, it's very, very funny sometimes. So I met Guidos this winter in January in Italy, and just found a nice gentleman chatting about racing. What should he do for the future? I said, if you have a chance and you feel that Ferrari Challenge is the right thing for you, go for it. And here we are 8 months later, and he's racing here and fighting for the championship.
So you are then part responsible for him being in the challenge. Well done, you.
Let's say I did give him some boost that this is the right thing for you to do.
Joel Rosenbacher has gone second fastest with a 1:28.441. But this makes the Gregory Hopkins time even more impressive because the margin is 0.6 between P1 and P2. It's Joel Rosenbacher, P2. Enoch Hurd, then Dan Magnuszewski, who is P4. Then it's Matt Dalton, then it is Gerdus Venslovas. We're watching Joel Rosenbacher right now, driving that 426 car for Ferrari of Lake Forest through this chicane here, where the curbs are really forgiving through that chicane. They're not like the sausages that you get at some circuits, which would have the car being pitched airborne. So you are able to really exploit those and take as much as you can. So Gregory Hopkins from Joel Rosenbacher, Enoch Hurd, Dan Magnuszewski with just 2.5 minutes of this qualifying session remaining. It is our first running of the day. The 488 Challenge Shell drivers whose championship ends this weekend. They are running with Matt Dalton currently 5th fastest and Gerdus Venslovas 6th fastest. So, you know, the championship protagonists, if you will, Tony, are still absolutely together here.
Yeah, it's funny. Often these things happen. So two drivers fighting for the overall win of the championship, they keep finding themselves in qualifying, in the race, next to each other, and that's when the high tension comes into play. So let's see, we have 2 minutes to go, and I think the fastest lap times will be posted now, so let's see how much they can improve.
Well, just as you were talking, Gerdus had gone P2 and Matt Dalton has just bettered him, but bettered him by only 4/100ths. That's how close it is. So it's P2 and P3 for Matt Dalton and Gerdus Venslovas. Gregory Hopkins remains P1 at the moment with 1.5 minutes remaining in this qualifying session for our Shell drivers in the 488 Challenge. I remind you that anyone that has crossed the timing line, even if the clock has gone down to 0, if they cross the timing line within the next 1 minute and 18 seconds, they're still going to be able to do another lap.
Yeah, it's going to be tight battle. Seems like there's not been a big issues with the traffic like we anticipated, that you need to have the clear run to do a good lap time, but the images we've got, it looks like it's been a clear qualifying so far.
Yes, and I think every driver respectful for every other driver that's perhaps on a hot lap. You know, they try their level best to avoid balking you or hampering your lap. Of course, you can't just make your car disappear into thin air. But, yeah, it's something I really enjoy about the Ferrari Challenge, that generally, in qualifying, the drivers try and be as respectful for others as they can, as Gerdus now heads towards the timing line. And he is going to be able to do another lap. He's 3rd fastest at the moment, but he can do another one because he crossed the timing line with 27 seconds remaining. But this will be his last lap. If he is gunning for the pole position, if he is gunning for the additional point, it's this lap and no others that he is going to have to try and find around about 3/10 to unseat Gregory Hopkins from that P1 position at the moment.
Yeah, he had a sort of a cool down lap. He was around 5 seconds, 4.5 seconds slower than his previous lap. So then he was really cooling down the tires. He has another car following closely. So this is like, let's say, the slipstream, and also to try to improve the lap time behind another driver. And Venslovas has a clear track in front of him. Checker flag is out, so this lap is the one that counts if he still has the performance to improve.
Okay, well, let's see how he does, running wide out of the exit of that turn to carry as much speed as possible into the next right-hander, as you can see, which has taken really full chat. Then back up onto the oval just for literally a moment before this intersection towards the end of the lap here, which is quite complicated, Tony.
Yeah, especially the second last corner, so turn 13. I've done few sessions now, and I'm struggling. You need to really slow down the car to have a good exit. It gives you the feeling to carry a lot of speed, but then you have just understeer at the exit, and it's a very difficult part of the track.
Well, Gerdes did not improve. Stays P3. Matt Dalton is P2. So P1, Gregory Hopkins at the moment. Here comes Matt Dalton now crossing the timing line. P2, a 1:28.208, his best time. Only one driver in the session into the 1:27, so that's Gregory Hopkins for Foreign Cars Italia. So he will pick up the Rotiform pole position award and also the additional point for pole position. But in terms of our championship protagonists, Tony, they are going to be together again, but P2 and P3 on the grid, so on separate rows virtually within the grid. So we will see what happens when it comes to race time a little bit later on today. Looking at Steve Blevett here, the Ferrari of Denver driver, who has banged to 129. He's P12, and a lot of cars out there, as you say. Every driver really good in terms of allowing all other drivers the time and the space they needed if they weren't on a hot lap. There's the 411 car that we're looking at. Brad Evans, the Ferrari of San Antonio driver. He finished the qualifying session a very respectable P7 with a 1:28.617. Henry Hummel also with a very good qualifying P5 for Henry Hummel. Well done, Henry, the Ferrari of Lake Forest driver. I was having a conversation with him yesterday, being coached by Max Blancardi, who knows a thing or two about Ferrari driving and Ferrari Challenge driving, former champion, of course, going back to the days when we had a separate Italian championship and a European championship, Tony.
Yeah, we have a lot of coaches flying over from Europe, drivers with a lot of experience in Ferrari Challenge, so they are really helping these drivers to improve every race weekend, to be consistent, also find performance. And it's a very close relationship with the driver and their coach, and sort of a driver's performance. Sometimes you see when there's the most nervous moments of the weekend, you really need that coach next to you giving the advice regarding qualifying or race start. So this is very important.
Gregory Hopkins did a very good job in qualifying. Of course, he has been a winner this year. If memory serves me, it was in the second race at Laguna Seca. He's been on the podium a couple of additional times with a couple of P3s as well. So it's been a good season for Gregory Hopkins, of course, coming from that family where the familiar livery across a couple of cars in the Ferrari Challenge here in North America. There is the very livery that we were talking about. As Gregory makes his way outside of the car, having done a brilliant job in qualifying, 1:27.838. And I'm sure that he will be particularly satisfied with that, and particularly satisfied that he will, of course, be approached by Shea Adam, who will make sure that he's in receipt of that Rotiform Pole Position Award, a very coveted award, because it means that you've done the best job you can in qualifying. And it must give you a boost in terms of confidence of knowing that you've got the track nailed, Tony.
Yeah, for sure, because you practice a lot, you do put a lot of effort, and then when you really outperform the other drivers and you do your best. Normally in qualifying, the target is obviously to do your best lap time of the weekend, combined with the practice and everything. So when you have a pole position, is a great start for the weekend. And overall, we had a great session to start the day.
Thank you, Tony. Yes, it was a great start for the weekend for Gregory Hopkins, who Shea is with right now.
It's a very cool experience when you can get pole position at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but it's your second time on pole this year, Gregory. How hard were you pushing out there to try and replicate that?
You know, this is the first time I've been in the car and been able to relax, so I'm completely happy with it. this second time, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Does it feel like you have more confidence now that you've gotten that win out of the way?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, good luck getting another one later this afternoon.
Thank you.
Well done, Gregory. Great job done, and well done, Shea, getting up with him, catching up with him very, very quickly, literally as soon as he came out of the car. Let's bring you the results in full from our first qualifying session then for our 488 Challenge Shell drivers. Gregory Hopkins, P1 with a 127.838. I remind you, the only driver into the 27s. 3/10 quicker than Matt Dalton. Then it was Curtis Venslovas, Joel Rosenbacher, Henry Hummel, Enoch Hurd, Brad Evans, Dan Magnuszewski. They occupy the top 8 positions from our qualifying session here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, ahead of Louis Peruschio, Kevin Orsini, Gary Ott, Steve Blevitt, Ed Vortigyan, Michael Merrithew and Anthony DiCarlo, and they were ahead of Jeffrey Keel and Bernard Gomez. The complete rundown of who did what in qualifying for the Ferrari Challenge 488 cars in the Shell category. Standing by to get out next, it's going to be the Pirelli drivers, and you'll remember the action that we had from the Pirelli drivers in our last round. If we replicate that, it's going to be a fantastic experience for us all here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Before they can get into race action, of course, they need to be out there and qualifying as we look at the car of Logan Broughton, followed by Jason McCarthy. I was having a long chat with Jason McCarthy last night at what was a truly sumptuous event where we were guests at the Indianapolis Ballroom, which I have to say, Tony, you and I were there, and it was a very, very elaborate event, and it's a great opportunity for us to catch up with those drivers. And as I say, I spent the best part of 15-20 minutes talking to Jason McCarthy, and yeah, about the nuances of racing and the challenges, and yeah, it's a really, really good opportunity, and Jason will be hoping to do well. Of course, he has spent all season, if you like, being bridesmaid to Massimo Perina, who has been absolutely stunning, so we'll see what they can do in quali, mate.
Yeah, first of all, the night at the Opera last night was special. So feels like Louis Colmage and he stuffed every event. They're just raising the bar. It's just more spectacular each time. A great time last night. Like you said, the drivers, most of them were there. And it's great to see this racing community, Ferrari family, like we say, all together. Hard racing on track, but then we can enjoy life and have good times in the evening. So great atmosphere last night, and like you said, most of the drivers have been enjoying the championship. Obviously, there is a lot of talk still about the performance of the 296 296 Challenge car, and then, like we said, the history of this car, 488 Challenge, which has a great history and great part of Ferrari's GT family. A lot of success in GT and endurance racing, and the biggest number in production with the combined other categories, other activities with the 488 Challenge. So there's a lot of stuff going on and great history of the 488 car. Jason McCarthy, we've seen he's double duty the whole season. So he's been doing the 488 Challenge and the 296 Challenge. And it was a bit tricky in the beginning of the season. These cars handle differently, require a little bit of different driving style. 296 Challenge maybe a bit closer to the GT3 car, while Challenge 488 Challenge has some other requirements requiring braking, handling, turn-in, and how you trust the car, how you take the peak of the tire a bit differently compared to our new Challenge car. So Jason, like I said, in the beginning, I think was a bit of a struggle, but then at the same time you learn different situations, different circumstances, and you learn every time that you need to reset and be ready for the next quali or next race. And he has done a lot of work, a lot of laps this season, racing in both series.
What was really nice talking to Jason last night was how much respect he had for this young man, Massimo Perina, who we see on track now, who barring one race has nailed every single one. And yeah, he said the speed the guy has, you know, it's been really, really impressive. Massimo Perina's debut in the Ferrari Challenge, driving the 488, has been remarkable, absolutely remarkable. And he's the records will indicate just how successful he has been. And of course, he'll want to get the season completed on a very, very high note. And you know, it's all very well thinking, yeah, you're slam dunk for the championship, but you want to win every single race that you're in. You want to complete every qualifying session as the fastest driver. Those targets are always there, and he is a very, very driven young man. And of course, that will be uppermost in his mind. One of his competitors will be Jason McCarthy. Have no fear of that. Jason is a stellar driver, and as Tony alluded to, you know, makes life difficult for himself across the weekends by double duties, but he's really been able to absorb that and the differences between the two cars across the course of the season. So do not rule Jason McCarthy out of this. Logan Broughton then and Jason McCarthy, we're running the clock on now, just to give us some indication of times. That's how close they get to the concrete wall. I mean, that's millimeters, Tony, away from that concrete wall. You can see both Logan and Jason really taking it as Jason McCarthy sets the fastest lap for our Pirelli drivers thus far in the 488 Challenge, a 1:27.207, and Logan Broughton with a 1:28.150. Of course, in graphics, the times will come up on the left-hand side of your screen for you to enjoy, and you can keep across who is doing what. I remind you that the Pirelli drivers in this class will have a red strip across the top of the windscreen, as we can see here from Massimo Perina, and the Shell drivers that we saw qualifying just a few moments ago will have a yellow strip across the top of the windscreen, so that in the race you can identify each.
Yeah, one of the things for a driver in qualifying is obviously to understand the tires, when the tires are ready and where is the best performance on which lap. So we could see Perina on the previous lap, while he was launching himself to a flying lap, he could feel that on the last corners the car was not ready. The rear of the car was a bit wild, so we saw him posting a lap time 1:29. So he was still driving 80% because the tires and the temperature was not there, and probably this and the next lap are the ones that count.
Presumably, Tony, as a racing driver, if the tyres are not quite ready for you, you run the risk of over-driving and perhaps doing further damage to your remaining laps.
That is true. If you try to push too hard when the tires are not there, you just take out the moment of a peak of the grip, because you're just destroying the surface of the tire. Sometimes we talk about cold graining, or sometimes we talk about that driver just overheated the surface of the tire. So we always have two things. We have a tire pressure, but we had also the temperature on the surface of the tire. So you need to get these things combined together, raise the pressure of the tire, but at the same time have the surface of the tire temp under control. So this is a mastering of this, and it comes only through experience.
Well, you were exactly right, Tony Verlander, because Massimo Perina realized last lap the car wasn't quite up to it. What has he done? He's now delivered the best lap when the tires were absolutely in the optimum window. He's delivered a 1:25.725. Whilst he was doing that, or just moments before him doing that, Logan Broughton had set a 1:26.332, so besting Jason McCarthy. The order on the left-hand side of your screen with Joe Sposato, P4 at the moment. Here comes Logan Broughton then. And it's P2 at the moment for Logan with a 1:26.332. Looks like he is improving, and Jason McCarthy is hanging on to his coattails, as it were. Jason McCarthy currently third fastest. The only driver into 1:25s thus far, Massimo Perina. So they head towards the line then as Massimo Perina, Logan Broughton, Jason McCarthy, and Jason and Logan stay in the positions that they were in. Here comes turn number one then as Logan Broughton comes into that, hugging the outside wall, then braking, turning in, and then this sequence of turns that you've got to get nailed correctly. And Logan there just picking up a bit of dust. He ran a little bit too far over the curves, I would have suggested.
Yeah, you want to take a lot of speed in the exit of the corners, so the rotation speed, and go back on throttle, and he was just doing a bit too much. I don't think he lost a lot of time, but every time you drop the tire off the track is not ideal, but I think he's still trying to improve his lap time.
You can really see the front end of the car compressed, Tony, under braking. And of course, that's one of the big differences between the 488 and the 296, completely different braking system. Perhaps you can explain what is the difference between the braking system in the 488s and the brake-by-wire that is employed on the 296 cars.
Yeah, technically sometimes I'm not the best person to explain things, but there's a big thing on braking material in the challenge car. So in the 488 challenge we have the carbon ceramic material, so the brake rotors, so the discs and the pads are adapted to these materials, and they have different procedures to bedding them in, so running in the material before you can take them to the limit. Often we see those glowing red brake discs.
Yes.
A lot of heat comes through these brake materials. Performance is good, but there's a traditional braking master cylinder, so this transmits the pressure to the calipers, and then the brakes work this way. Brake-by-wire thing, I'm not super technical on it, but then again, different materials in the new 296 Challenge car, the pressure and the feeling is a bit different. But one of the key things that with the new 296 Challenge car was to improve the braking performance on like pure lap, but
Yes.
also the durability of the material. And I think with the 296 we've succeeded to do that. One of the key drivers to do the development, Italian driver that I know really well, Maurizio Mediani, and he was really proud of the project. A lot of test laps in Fiorano, Mugello, Monza, and the car proved already, let's say, tens of thousands of kilometers, but between at least 30,000 kilometers was done with the car, and it improved its speed straight away, and that's the key to the success that we've seen with the 296 car as well.
Forgive me, I wasn't trying to put you on the spot technically, more a question of, you know, it has been one thing that, you know, speaking to Jason McCarthy, who incidentally has brought the car into the pit lane, he's qualified as Logan Broughton continues to try and improve here. Some of the drivers' remarks have been the you know, the difference between this car, the 488 Challenge car, and the 296 car with regards to braking is feel. It is feel. It's something that you can physically feel is very, very different. And thanks for explaining that to us. Joe Spossato then remains P4 at the moment, and is hoping to be able to improve from his 130.309. Massimo Pereira then is unbested at the moment with a 125.725. I have to say, Logan Broughton has really taken it to him, but Massimo Pereira currently P1 with a 125.725. Now, what's really impressive about Massimo is that he has had to pick himself up from the second race at Sonoma when he finished P5. And given that he had a completely unbroken streak of success, you know, when something comes along and changes that, and it was changed by Titus Sherlock, who took the win in race 2. Titus not here this weekend, but what I'm trying to say is that you've got to be a very, very clever young man, as Massimo Pereira is, and you've got to pick yourself up from that little diversion, if you will, and bring yourself back into that gun seat, which Massimo is clearly done with his qualifying performance this morning.
Yeah, I mean, in racing in general, always analyze why you won, why you did the pole, or why you were struggling. Improve, don't repeat the same mistakes, and then have the self-confidence that the things you were doing before, those are enough to perform well in qualifying and in the race. And with Massimo Pereira, I think is a good story of sports in general. When everything is in place, the team is doing a great job, he feels very connected with his race car. These young drivers, they have interesting driving techniques, how they use the pedals, right foot, left foot braking, they use simulators, they just grown up in a different world.
Yeah.
And I think in Massimo's case, it's just a question of how he feels in the race car, and he just does things that come naturally to him, and not necessarily knowing why he's so much better than the others, because a driver doesn't know how the other drivers adapt to the corners, how they do the braking, and they don't know how they feel. And this is an interesting aspect that I don't know, I think is a sector of racing that there is not many to explain how these things work. But I think in Massimo's case, he just keeps repeating the things he feels are right things to do behind the wheel, and we see the lap times are always there. And if you have a one race that is a little bit off the sequence, you just need to see the consistency throughout the season, and I think he's been there, the driver to beat the whole season.
You're absolutely right. Let's take a look at the confirmation of the results then from our Pirelli drivers in the 488 Challenge Series, as the qualifying is done and dusted for them. And once again, Massimo Pereira in receipt of yet another Rotiform Pole Position Award. He's got a big collection of those. A 125.725 ahead of Logan Broughton. Good quality Logan, P2. Jason McCarthy, P3. And Joe Spossato, P4. So there are 4 drivers in the Ferrari Challenge 488 qualifying classification from the Pirelli perspective. So Massimo Perina, and what's really nice is when you see the young drivers like Titus, who we saw last time around, and Massimo, who's been the driver all season long. These young drivers using the Ferrari Challenge as a springboard to other things in what is sure to be a glittering motor racing career. And what a glittering shot that is. This wonderful Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Delighted that you're here with us for our qualifying sessions. Races to come this afternoon. It's a impeccably clean circuit. It's one of the tidiest circuits that I have seen in a long, long time. It's absolutely beautiful here, Indianapolis. And as Shay said earlier on, and I said earlier on, here's this iconic place with the pagoda there, and the view from the very top of that pagoda, which I've had the privilege of going up there, is extraordinary. So up next we will have our Shell-Am drivers in the 296 Challenge out for their qualifying session. The flag's flying then, as you can see, lovely backdrop there of the trees here in Indianapolis too, and yes, lots of action this morning with our qualifying sessions for the Ferrari drivers racing across the course of this weekend. The paddock, a very busy place, of course, all the haulers in there, the trucks with all the teams of which they play such an important part, and certainly elevating their drivers like Massimo Perina, who is with Shay right now.
Well, Massimo, keeping this perfect year alive, yet another pole award for you. What an experience, though. Pole at Indy, parking your car on the bricks. What does this feel like?
It's incredibly special. At the moment, the pole position streak is the only one we got going left, so I'm holding it nice and tight as long as I can. But what an incredible year so far, especially to be able to start race one by parking on the bricks for pole position.
And considering that today we could potentially have this championship wrapped up, how much more important is it for you to keep the car out front and clean?
Extremely important. It's I've been trying to talk with the team all weekend, trying to make sure we get out front, hopefully take the lead, and it's clear sailing from there.
Job one done. Good luck later.
Thank you so much.
Well done, Massimo. Great to see another Rotiform pole position award, and congratulated by his father there. And he's always very humble, Tony, in that he knows that he has to have the team behind him, pushing him. And they have done, they've delivered for him. He has done his bit. He's delivered out on track as well. It's a combo effort, Tony. It's not just one driver.
Yeah, it's true. There's a lot of work behind the scenes, a lot of preparation with the race car, but also different feelings throughout the season. First, there is the doubt. Do we have the pace? Then you confirm yourself in qualifying, winning the races, and the next target is the championship. And we are now getting close to that title race, or that moment that Massimo Perina can close the championship. So then you need support. Drivers do react differently. You need more time on your own, or you need more people around you to just keep the mind to focus on the basic things. Next step, do a good race start, control the race in case there is safety cars and stuff. Just keep calm and don't commit errors, and don't take yourself mentally in a place that you are not comfortable. So it's just a matter of using that experience you have, and I think he's the right driver to do it.
We're looking at the car of Jerry Walters then, Bubbles, who of course took victory, and richly deserved victory in the second race at Sonoma. And I was speaking to her yesterday, and you know, she's still on a high from that race win. We'd seen it coming all season long. You know, it was a question of when, not if. And Jerry delivered. Her driving this year has been impeccable. The Ferrari of Vancouver driver that we ride on board with right now in the Copa Shell-Am category of our 296 Challenge drivers. And just ahead you can see Melissa Kozera, who has also been awesome, the Ferrari of Naples driver, who Tony was racing just last year in the, competing in the Club Challenge, because you do compete in the Club Challenge because you're up against the clock. You're not in competition with other drivers out there, but it is a real feeder, isn't it, into the Ferrari Challenge racing proper.
Yeah, Club Challenge is a perfect platform to improve your skills. Again, you can work with the coach. You can drive the same tracks as we see now, right now, that we are doing a qualifying, or later on we do the races. So you can straight away compare your pace, your experience, and then this helps you to do and prepare you for the next step to actually take part of these official races. So Club Challenge, interesting format. First you do maybe a Corso Pilota, then you improve your skills, you do step by step, and then Club Challenge is a nice small step after Corso Pilota, and then just a step closer to racing here with us.
There's very much a program, Tony, in terms of how you can get the best out of Ferrari. As we watch Gabe Harib here, who drives for Ferrari of Atlanta, is someone I've spent a lot of time with, and is jolly good fun and really enjoys his time in the Ferrari Challenge, does Gabe Harib. Driving that number 102 car. His best finish this season thus far has been a P4, I seem to recall, in the second race in California at Sonoma. This is Brian Waldersdorf, who's currently out there second fastest with a 1:31.6. That's the fastest time from Brian Waldersdorf. Roger Monteforte has bested him. Roger Monteforte P1 at the moment with a 1:29.493. And Tony, it seems extraordinary, but in the space of just a few sentences from you and I, the first half of the qualifying session for the Shell-Am drivers is done. The Shell-Am drivers, when you see them racing in action, you'll see that they have a black strip across the top of the windscreen. That's how you can identify the Shell-Am drivers. As Jerry Walters then, who's currently sitting P8 in qualifying, make that P2, a 1:28.203 from Jerry Walters. And Jeff Nunberg coming through in P3 as well. I spent last night in the company of Jeff Nunberg, and great company he was too. Roy Carroll, though, has bettered everyone with a 1:27.025. So it's all mixing up quite nicely in this qualifying session, as we would expect. Roger Monteforte back to the top with a 1:26.8.6. So well done to Roger Monteforte, the Ferrari of Central New Jersey driver. His best lap time then, a 1:26.860 for Roger Monteforte, who I think has taken something like 4 wins in the very competitive Shell-Am class this year. And here comes Roy Carroll, who was momentarily at the top of the qualifying chart, now finds himself P2. Is he going to respond, Tony?
Yeah, it looks good. I was just monitoring the lap times and comparing him with my 296 GT3, so I better start accelerating, or I need to spend more time with you here in the commentary booth.
Here comes Roy Carroll.
They're really going fast.
He's breaking the timing beam now. And look at this. It's a big chunk he's taken out. It's 9/10 that he's taken out of Roger Monteforte's time. So Roy Carroll... and here comes Jeff Nunberg then, who's currently 4th fastest. Is this going to be an improvement from Jeffrey then for Ferrari of Central New Jersey? No, it's not. So he will go again. We've got 3 minutes of this qualifying session remaining. And Gabe Harib for Ferrari of Atlanta has gone 2nd fastest. So it's all being mixed up really rather nicely. As we see Helen Shu then for Ferrari of San Diego in this all-yellow 296 Challenge car crossing the timing line right now. So we've got some 12 cars out there, and it is really exciting. Qualifying sessions for me, Tony, often can be as dramatic as races.
Yeah, it's true. You need to post your lap time early in the session. There might be yellow flags that you are not allowed to improve your sector or lap time. Get that lap time early on the timing and scoring, and then try to improve later on. With 296, I feel it's a bit different. It takes a few more laps to get the tires up to temperature compared to the 488 we saw earlier. And early in the season you could really see that the drivers and the teams were struggling a little bit with the front grip, so you could see a lot of steering angle, steering input from the cars. But over the season I think teams have got a better knowledge with their race car, and the balance has improved, and teams are taking steps forward also. And also don't forget that drivers are getting more seat time, so basically every day you have more experience and you improve continuously. So it's been a great show with the 296 this year.
I agree wholeheartedly with you. Melissa Kozira improves a place, moves up to P3. It's Roy Carroll from Gabe Harib, Melissa Kozira, then Roger Monteforte, Steve Check, Jeff Nunberg, Brian Waldersdorf, Jerry Walters. Then it is Dana Goodwin, David Williams, Helen Shu, Neil Langberg. That's the way it looks at the moment as we watch the 101 car then of Roger Monteforte as he heads to break the timing beam now. He's targeting a 1:25.693, and he breaks the timing beam. I suggest that he was setting himself up potentially for this lap, and this will be his last lap, Tony.
Yeah, it's less than a minute to go. So we've seen improvements even in the last seconds right now. So there's still chance to improve, and drivers are still on it. Sometimes it also happens that you plan your qualifying and then suddenly the tires just one lap after that the plan was. You have more grip, you have more balance. So often even on the out lap, or let's say after you've done the planned session and the amount of laps, you just keep going and you see the sector times, you see the predicted lap time, and then sometimes you just close the qualifying with one more lap and then you improve.
Now, these drivers have those deltas available to them on the screen, don't they, Tony? So you're absolutely right. You have to sometimes potentially adapt what your strategy was, because the car might come to you one lap later than you expected.
Yeah, exactly. So every day on the racetrack is different temperatures, different grip level. Predicted lap time is a good tool for a driver to improve, but you need to take it in the right way. You cannot get too much lap time oriented, meaning that you lose the rhythm of your driving and you get too much focus on the lap time. It's a nice tool that often confirms you that I did it really well, and then you see it on the predicted lap time that you are below your best lap time so far. So it's a great tool, but it needs to be used in the right way.
So Roy Carroll, Gabe Hurrier, Melissa Kozira. We're on board with Jerry Walters right now, who's hoping to improve from current P6 position. Beg your pardon, we're on board with Melissa Kozira now, who is running P3 at the moment, having set a time of 1:26.492. Forgive the incorrect graphics. It was Jerry Walters that we were on board with. Thought I recognized the hands and the glove, you know. So currently running P6, hoping to improve. Roy Carroll with a 1:25.223. The session is officially over now. The checkered flag is out, so Jerry's not going to be able to go again after the conclusion of this lap. And any driver that is on a lap right now and they cross the line before the flag came out means they can complete the lap as Jerry heads to break the timing beam now. And it's not an improvement for Jerry Walters. We've got Roy Carroll, Gabe Hurrier, Melissa Kozira, Roger Monteforte, Steve Czech. He crosses the timing line and now goes P3 with a time of 1:26.384 for Ferrari of Rancho Mirage. So still drivers potentially improving then before this session is completed. The checkered flag may well come out, but any driver that's out there and still on an improvement trajectory, that lap will still count. Dana Goodwin finishes the qualifying session in P9 for Ferrari of Seattle with a 1:27.490. So three drivers still out there: Roy Carroll, Melissa Kozira, and Helen Shu. We can see from the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen the Copichelle AM qualifying done and dusted very quickly as Roy Carroll gets out. And this is seemingly going to be a very, very good weekend thus far for that family. You will recall, if you were watching our 488 Challenge qualifying earlier on, a car with an identical livery and family connection finishing in pole position. And Roy Carroll at the moment looking very, very good indeed as Gabe Hurrier has completed his session. And P2 is a very, very good qualifying from the Ferrari of Atlanta driver with a 1:26.352. So well done to Gabe. Steve Czech coming in right at the end of the session with a third fastest time. But as I was saying, it's great news for the Carroll and extended Carroll family with a P1 now in the Copichelle AM qualifying. And Roy is with Shay.
The Be Safe livery is definitely the one to have on your car this weekend. Roy, did you get any advice from Gregory about what the track was going to be like for qualifying that allowed both you guys to get poles?
Not really. You know, this Conquest Racing team's really had the car set up. The 296 is so predictable. We've got confidence, and we had speed today, so we'll see what we can do at the race time.
Does it help at all that the team is based locally, that they have that extra little bit of track insight?
I don't know. I think one thing is they've got a number of cars, so they're able to adjust the setup and dial it in to where it's perfect.
The only goal for today, go for the win, kiss the bricks?
Well, absolutely. I can't let my son-in-law outdo me, you know, so I'm going to have to work a little bit harder, it looks like.
Congrats so far.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Well done, Roy. Very, very good qualifying, and well done. Rotiform Pole Position Award. Let's take a look at the results then for our Shell Am drivers. Roy Carroll then, who we just heard from, a 1:25.223 P1. Gabe Harib with a great qualifying. He goes P2, then it's Steve Check, Melissa Kozira, Roger Monteforte, Brian Waltersdorf, Jerry Walters, perhaps out of position P7, then Jeffrey Nunberg, Dana Goodwin, David Williams, Helen Shue, and no time set by Neil Langberg in the 153 car. So there are confirmation of who finished where in that qualifying session for our Shell Am drivers as we zoom into the Be Safe Storage 121 car and stand by to get our Shell drivers out there for their qualifying session as we look at the Chuck Whittle car, I believe, ready to go out there. And the 296 Challenge cars sound absolutely awesome. And the two things are completely unconnected, Tony, but they sound better in the sunshine.
Yeah, these cars are beautiful, and also the lap times are really impressive. So Shell Am class, they were doing low 25, so let's see now the Shell category, and later on when we get to Pirelli Am and Pirelli category. So yeah, really obviously a lot of horsepower, great handling, great capacity in braking, and these drivers just are really taking their cars into the limit, and it's great to see. Also a lot of respect to the, if I may call, lady drivers who every weekend put themselves, they're racing with against men and also challenging for themselves, trying to improve. And sometimes you see Lisa Clark and the other lady drivers being a bit upset. I say, what's going on? I just want to improve. I just want to go faster. So a lot of respect doing this race from me to them, doing these races, these weekends, and really trying to improve. And it's been great to see all our lady drivers and their performance this season.
Yeah, and Lisa Clark, of course, won the Shell Am Championship here in North America last year, elevated to Shell this year. Melissa Kozira, who's come into the Ferrari Challenge from Club Challenge, and of course Jerry Walters having taken a win this year. It's great news indeed, and great to see. Right, our Shell drivers are out there for qualifying now, of which Lisa Clark is one of those. Ray Acosta in the 107 car. Incidentally, Ray Acosta's son Michael is in the Club Challenge this weekend as well, so a real family affair, and we'll see what Ray can do. Ray, of course, was racing just last weekend at the Nürburgring, choosing to race with some of the European competitors as well, giving him very valuable seat time and the experience of slightly different European tracks as well, and he's really enjoying himself. And here's Mike Luley, one of the longest serving campaigners in the Ferrari Challenge. Always great to see Mike here as a big bunch of these Shell cars coming out on track then for their qualifying session here at Indianapolis. The 123 car driven by Rob McWilliams for Ferrari of Washington. And I was chatting to Rob about the color scheme and the livery design across this car, which is so stunning. I know you and I have spoken on a number of occasions, Tony, about, you know, when you've got the canvas of a 296 Challenge car to make your own in terms of extending your personality. I think Robert McWilliams, along with a number of other drivers, has really stamped his personality on that car.
Yeah, we have great liveries, great graphics on the car that then, like you've said in the past, go through the racing overalls, helmets, yes, all the extra things on the paddock, and even the trailers. So yes, it's a great way to show different colors, and also it's great to see the dedication and details they put into their race cars. So we see different color wheels, and the car from the front looks different than on the side. So it's been great to see some of the graphics, they glow in the dark, and this makes it even more interesting.
So Robert Williams then, Ferrari across the line now, and set the first time that we will see for our Shell drivers, 1:27.827. I'm sure we'll see times come tumbling down across the course of the 6 3/4 minutes that remain in this qualifying session. It's Robert McWilliams, P1, Ray Acosta, P2, then it's John Fiskup, Eric Marston, then Mike Luley. They are the top 5 at the moment. So let's ride on board then, or follow rather, the collection driver, Ray Acosta. His colour scheme, of course, paying homage to the hypercar, which shout out to our drivers that are in Fuji this weekend. Tony, I hope I've got that right.
Yeah, you got it right. There's a WEC race in Fuji, so a lot of dedication worldwide with Ferrari in the endurance racing. We've seen more yellow in Ferrari race cars recently, like you said, the LMDH livery has some yellow. We have the AF Corse, is it number 83 entry, which is full yellow color. And it's great to see. Ray Acosta is coached by Marco Bonanomi, who was my teammate as early as 2003 when we started in a smaller single-seater. So a lot of experience from Marco. He's been with Audi in the prototype program, and he's with Ray all over the world. They were in Nürburgring just a moment ago, and then today they are here in Indianapolis. So again, a great example, coach-driver relationship, that wherever you go, you keep it with the same coach.
Marco, a fantastic driver in his own right, there's no question about that. Ray Acosta goes P1, and the first time that we've seen thus far in the 124s. So a 124.798 from Ray Acosta. Here comes John Visca, then he's third fastest at the moment for Boardwalk Ferrari. His best lap, a 126.015. Eric Marston, then championship contender, is second fastest. Robert McWilliams, who led the early stages of the session, is P4. You can see the order on the left-hand side of your screen. Of course, it is going to change throughout the course of this qualifying session, of which there are 4 3/4 minutes remaining. Eric Marston, second fastest at the moment. He, of course, has been in receipt of a number of the Rotiform pole position awards. He'd like to bank another one from Indianapolis. Will he do it? Well, he's got 4.5 minutes to prove himself out here on Indy. Ferrari of Westlake driver we're following right now, Eric Marston, then running the clock on him as well. Target time, a 124.798. And according to Eric's last time, he's got to find some 9 1/4 tenths to take it to Ray Acosta. Chuck Whittle has just gone second fastest. So is this going to be an improvement from Eric Marston then? The man that's taken a number of wins this year and a number of pole positions, and is certainly one of the contenders for the Copa Championship, which will go all the way, of course, to the Finale Mondiale event, that glittering event which will be held in Imola as Eric crosses the timing line. He does improve, but he's got within a tenth of Ray Acosta, but he's not P1.
Yeah, great battle. We've seen Eric Marston really taking a big step with the new 296 challenge. He was good with the 488 challenge, but he's been excellent with the new car. A lot of weekends where he's been dominating qualifying and the race. And Ray Acosta, a little bit of up and down with the performance, and now it's great to see his performance, and right now he's leading the whole field, so it's great to see.
It is. There are drivers that have taken to this 296 challenge car, and it just seems to fit like the perfect glove. And Derek, I would suggest he's one of those drivers who's been able to really get the best out of this car. As we see Chuck Whittle head to break the timing beam now. Fourth fastest, make that third fastest as he improves. Third fastest within class. I remind you, our Copa Shell drivers drive with the yellow strip across the top of the windscreen.
Red flag.
Ah, thank you, Tony. You picked up on that very, very quickly. So we have a red flag then, with 2.5 minutes remaining in this qualifying session, and that's the reason why I think that's the car of Victor Gomez. My eyesight is not what it once was, Tony. I think it's Victor Gomez who's gone off there in the 104 car. Yeah, we can see that through the gravel.
I think he lost it on the left-hand corner, riding the curb, and then just went to the gravel. Let's see if maybe the session is over.
Yeah.
2 minutes left. And yeah, we were able to go until our 4th qualifying session without yellow flags and without red flags. And now it was our shell category that created this situation. So to be precise, this is coming out of turn 9.
Yeah.
Just before turn 10, and the car's on the left-hand side in the gravel. I don't think there was any contact with the wall.
No.
We don't need any repairs, just to recover the car, put it back on track, and I think he can go probably back to the pits on his own.
Okay, so we'll get the car out of...
And we talked about posting the lap time earlier on. There was 2.5 minutes to go, where you potentially can do another 2 laps. Now, if it's red flag, it doesn't restart. We did the lap time 5 to 4 minutes 5 or 4 minutes to the end, and that this may hold the classification.
It may well have been the 184 car, Tony, not the 104 car, because the 104 car is, of course, a Shell Am driver. It's going to be the 184 car driven by Fabian Speyman for the collection. So, checker flag is out. You're absolutely right. Session is brought to a close, and therefore it's a pole position for Ray Acosta. He'll be thrilled about that, and deservedly so. So, as you say, it's been up and down for Ray Acosta, and at the moment it's up. Well done, Ray. A 124.798. He was chased to within a tenth by Eric Marston, but critically, Ray Acosta will seal the Rotiform pole position award. He's set the fastest lap in the Shell drivers, and he will be on pole position on the grid.
Yeah, Ray has been in a good mood the whole weekend. He's giving me thumbs up when he saw me with the overall.
Yes.
Saying like, "Way to go! Good to see you back." And I said, "Yeah, I feel like I'm back, but I don't know if I ever left. There's been just a little break, and yeah, it's been great to feel also the welcoming feeling of the drivers. Like even here with the challenge grid." I never raced in Ferrari Challenge, but still the drivers, they are very well informed what we've done in the past in endurance racing and stuff like that. So it's been great to see, and Ray Acosta was one of the drivers saying that nice to see me back in the overalls. So that was a nice touch.
You're held in such high regard, Tony Vilander, and deservedly so. Here's confirmation of the classification then. Ray Acosta, pole position, P1. Eric Marston, P2. Then it was Chuck Whittle, Rob McWilliams, Jan Bernier, John Visca, Mitchell Green, Osvaldo Gallo then. They occupy the top 8 positions ahead of Bruce Cleveland, Brent Holden, Lisa Clark, Mike Luley, and it was Fabian Speyman then, who unfortunately didn't set a time because he found his car in the gravel trap, bringing the session to an early close. So Ray Acosta for the collection, and Ferrari of Miami then with a 124.798. He is pole position, as I mentioned. His son is out in the Club Challenge this weekend as well, so a big family affair for Ray Acosta. Congratulations, Ray. You nailed it, friend. He's with Shea.
And it's a big weekend for Ray because your son is also on track this weekend. How much more important does it make it for you to then set a good example for him, get this pole position, potentially get a race win?
Absolutely, it's great. It's awesome to be here with my son and seeing him on the track. It's unbelievable. I think he's faster than me, but we'll see what happens. I mean, I think the track is amazing. The track has a lot of grip. So I'm sorry that someone spun out, but we did what we could. So thank you.
Your second of these pole awards of the year. How much of a difference does it make when you're starting the race clear track ahead of you?
Well, it wasn't so good at Sonoma, but we'll put Sonoma behind us. I think it'll be good. I think it'll be great. I mean, it's clear views ahead, so I think that's what's more important here. So,
congrats, Ray.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well done, Ray Acosta. P1 in qualifying, and he did it with a 124.798. Yep, clear track ahead of him, and best possible starting position, Tony Vilander.
Yeah, I mean, start is always interesting. Qualifying is one part of the good result, but also the race start itself. And if you are in a good place to start, there's a lower possibility that something goes wrong or another driver is causing you to spin or something else. So pole position is very important in these races. The race, anyway, is relatively short, around 30 minutes of racing. So you really need to nail
Marco in the picture there that you were talking about earlier on. Marco, his driver coach.
Yeah, exactly. So qualifying is important, yes.
Thank you, Tony. Up next, then, we will see our Pirelli drivers out on track in their 296 Challenge cars for their qualifying session. It will be the Pirelli Am drivers that will go first. They'll have the white strip across the top of the windscreen. Then it will be the turn of our Pirelli drivers with the red strip across the top of the windscreen. I have to say, here in North America, Tony, I love the qualifying format because it's short, it's sharp, it's really entertaining. And truthfully, Tony, if you don't get it right, it bites you on the bottom.
Yeah, it's true. We have total of 6 qualifying sessions, but we can do it in a short time. 10 minutes is enough, but it's a good format in a way that everybody, more or less everybody, goes out. When the session starts, you warm up a few laps, and then you have those 2-3 flying laps to try to perform the best way you can. And yeah, 10 minutes, no real time for any mistakes, and then we see a lot of action on track. And it's a great format. And also dividing the groups in a way that we have these 6 sessions, it gives drivers a better possibility to do the best performance in qualifying. I always feel as a driver that qualifying should be in a way that nobody is around you disturbing you, taking away that chance to perform at the highest level you can, highest level of your skills, and then we can set the grid in the right order. So I think this format plays out really well.
The racing capital of the world. Here we are at Indianapolis. It's Ferrari Challenge. Round 6 of our 2024 season, which has been a stellar season for so many reasons. The racing has been absolutely compelling out there on track. The events have been superb. The calendar has been hand-picked in terms of the circuits that we have been to this year. And we kind of close out our North American leg, if you will, here at Indianapolis before we all head over into Europe to contest the final races and the world finals at Imola in Italy, which all the drivers are very much looking forward to, including the Pirelli AM drivers who will be out there qualifying right now as we get the green flag. There are 11 drivers out there to try and find the best lap time they can in their respective 296 Challenge cars. And once again, 10 minutes are on the clock as we watch John Horsch for Ferrari of Vancouver, who's the very first to show for this warm-up lap. He's got no one in front of him. He can just go about his warm-up routine, Tony, doing everything. And what do you do as a driver when you're coming out onto the track here? How do you get this car into optimal position for qualifying?
So one thing is the traffic, like you said. Some drivers, they really want to be ahead of the field when the session goes green. Then the other thing, I don't personally do a lot of waving like we see now on the back straight. I just try to build the temperature through brakes and cornering. So I do a little bit of more steering angle. I don't really slide the front that much, and then just the feeling in acceleration, in the traction areas of the track, you feel if the rear tires are ready, and the same thing with the front. You feel it under braking and sort of progressively increase the speed. So let's say first lap 60%, second lap 80, and from third lap on 100%. And then the next couple of laps are the best ones. Then sometimes one cool down lap. You already have hot tires, but you cool the temperature just a little bit, staying on the racing line, and then you have one more flying lap. That sometimes it pays off as well. So it comes also through experience. So in the practice, when you put on stickers, when you put on the new tires, then you get the experience and you can optimize the performance from the tire.
And presumably, Tony, the front and rear tires warm up at a different rate, do they?
Yeah, it's part of the tire development, and what tire compounds have been chosen to each category, each championship, each race car. So here in Ferrari Challenge, we use Pirelli tires, obviously developed by Ferrari together with Pirelli, and each team have same tires, same compounds, and it's just a question of getting it working the best way you can. Ferrari has set targets how to build a fast, well-balanced race car, not too much front end, not too much oversteer, not too much understeer, and then it should be a tire that works in every condition. We can have 50, 60 Fahrenheit, or we can have 100, 110, or we can have 10 Celsius, or we can have 40, 50. Okay. So it needs to be a tire that works in every condition. So those are the challenges when you develop a product for championship like Ferrari Challenge. But I think we and Ferrari, they have done a really good job to provide all these elements.
Yes, Pirelli and Ferrari, of course, a partnership that has existed for many, many years and works so well as we watch Omar Balkasoon, the Ferrari of Fort Lauderdale driver, who drives the number 33 car. Omar had a couple of P2s, of course, when the Ferrari Challenge was supporting the Formula One at Montreal. And here comes Tony Davis. And I spoke to Tony yesterday, who was saying it's a tall order for him this weekend. Of course, Tony very much in the championship fight along with Brian Cook, and yeah, Tony knows he's got to dig deep this weekend. So it's Chris Cagnazzi at the moment who is the fastest from Dave Musiel, then it's Frank Szczesniak, John Horsch and Jay Logan They are the top 5. Well, put Dave Musial P2 right now, and just 3.5 tenths behind Chris Cagnazzi. So we'll see all the times on the left-hand side of the screen for you as the drivers set about their qualifying. So Tony Davis then, who Continental Autosports driver, who has had a very, very strong season. 4 wins, I think, Tony has taken thus far. And, of course, he delivered a truly momentous firework display through his company at the Watkins Glen event, I seem to recall, which was superb. His 2 passions, Ferrari Challenge and fireworks. And, well, sometimes you get both, in both. As Tony Davis then stays P4. It was very much a set-up lap, I think, for him. Brian Cook has gone quickest with a 1:25.760, and Cyril Choksi goes P3 now because John Horsch in that all-black, menacing-looking 296 Challenge car momentarily went fastest before Chris Cagnazzi responded with a 1:24.754. So it's Cagnazzi from Horsch, from Cook, from Choksi. Now Cyril Choksi moved up into the Trofeo Pirelli AM category and has really taken to this very, very well, and has looked supremely competitive. So well done to Cyril Choksi then, the Ferrari of Denver driver, who is currently 6th fastest, but is hoping for an improvement as Dave Musial now goes to the top of the timing chart with a 1:24.592, having taken 1/10.5 out of the previous best time as Cyril Choksi crosses the timing line. And he's 3rd fastest now, some 4 tenths behind the leader, which is Dave Musial for Ferrari of Lake Forest. Brian Cook has improved as well. John Horsch dropped down to P5 now. So this lap is an important lap for Tony Davis. I would suggest this is the one that's going to count. I think the last lap that we saw him was very much a setup installation lap. So as he crosses the timing beam now, he did not get quite the progression that he wanted. It's a P7 for Tony Davis. Chris Cagnazzi then, who's looked very, very lively during this qualifying session, is currently 2nd fastest, and make that 1st now, 1:24.571 ahead of Dave Musial. Cyril Choksi, Brian Cook, they are the top 4 in our qualifying, of which there was 3.5 minutes remaining for the Ferrari Challenge 296 drivers in the Trofeo Pirelli AM category. Here's Frank Szczesniak then, currently round at P11 as he breaks the timing beam now and improves a place and goes up to P10. So Musial, Cagnazzi, Choksi and Cook, they are the top 4 as we watch the car of Brian Cook there. And Brian Cook for Ferrari of Seattle, very much having a supreme season is Brian Cook. And 4 or 5 wins I think Brian has had, and he breaks the timing beam and stays P4, so he will go again. Here's Tony Davis, who's now been dropped down to P8 in the qualifying because the number 13 car of Ofer Levi has gone 5th fastest. So Tony digs deep then and heads towards breaking the timing beam, and still not got it where he wants to be. Dave Musial remains P1, and here we can see Dave Musial coming into our camera shot right now in the number 30 car. So Ferrari Lake Forest driver. His son, of course, races in Trofeo Pirelli. This is the Pirelli AM category. And that's how close they get to the concrete wall. So 1:24.428 is the best time that has come from Dave Musial. Chris Cagnazzi chasing him, then Cyril Choksi and Brian Cook. 2 minutes remaining. You go through a heat cycle, Tony, in these tyres. Can you cool off a lap and then bring the tyres back again for the next lap?
Yeah, sometimes you can, and sometimes there is performance. You can repeat either your best lap time or even improve a little bit. So it's every time is a bit different. So if you feel like you're taking the most out of the tyre and the next lap is not going to be an improvement, you can back off 1 lap. Yep. Like I think we're seeing from number 13, he's either entering to the pits or trying to launch himself for another lap. We have 1 minute 20 seconds to go, and sometimes it pays off. Another thing with the heat cycle, yeah, he's coming into the pits. So other thing with the heat cycle is obviously new tires for the qualifying and then for the race. A heat cycle also means that you took the tires once to the temperature, they cool down, and then when you start the race, the grip level is a bit different. But occasionally also after one heat cycle, the durability of the tire improves a bit, and then the resistance of the tire remains in a bit better grip level throughout the race.
And as Tony mentioned there, of course, the tyres that the drivers qualify on are the tyres that they will race on. So with such a short, sharp qualifying session, tyre longevity isn't necessarily an issue, but it is something to keep borne in mind as well. The least laps you can do, obviously it gives you elongated tyre life in the race, but the sprint race format that we have in the Ferrari Challenge with a 30-minute race as we watch the car of Jay Logan. That was the all-red number 70 car. This is the car of Cyril Choksi. Qualifying from Cyril Choksi, who is second fastest now with a 1:24.537. So he's taken to Pirelli Am from coming out of Shell and being moved up to Pirelli Am. He's taken on that challenge and really run with it, and is looking very, very good, is Cyril. Well done. Dave Musial, P1, Cyril Choksi, P2. The checkered flag is out. Any driver that is still running and crossed the timing line with time remaining will be able to complete their lap. I have to say that this is probably not where Tony Davis wanted to be. Fifth fastest, Tony.
Yeah, but it's very tight qualifying. The top three inside a 10th and a half, and Tony Davis P5. He's a half a second from pole position, so it's a very, very good and tight battle in the lead.
Sebastian Mascaro put it P4 just at the close of the session, so good thus far pole position from Dave Musial with a 1:24.428, bearing in mind that there might still be drivers out there that are setting quick times, so we keep an eye on those. But another driver out of position in this qualifying session, in my opinion, will be Brian Cook if he stays P6. So that makes for a very, very exciting race for us to come, as Cyril Choksi can put in another lap. Does so, but does not improve, stays P2. To finish what I was saying about it will make for a very exciting race for us is because the likes of Tony Davis, Brian Cook, perhaps John Horsch, being out of position means they've got some overtaking to do, Tony, to get to the pointy part of the race result.
Yeah, and we've seen over this season drivers that have been struggling a bit in the qualifying performance on a single lap, and then in the race with their racecraft, with the start and the capacity to overtake other drivers, they've been able to bring the car back to a podium position or even fight for the race win. So it doesn't mean qualifying P4, 5 or 6, you're still not out of contention to win this race. So always the starts with a mix of categories, they're very exciting. So you need to get everything right to be on a podium in a Ferrari Challenge.
And there is a truism, isn't there, Tony, in that, certain racing drivers, are renowned for being great qualifiers. Other racing drivers are renowned for having brilliant racecraft. It's not necessary that you have both of those skill sets at 100%.
Yeah, it is true, and there is difference how to use the new tire, be able to modify a bit your driving and driving style to get the most out of it in both ways, in racing and in qualifying. And it's funny, it comes again really naturally in the race. Some of the drivers just see the start and the overtaking possibilities differently, manage to control their car in, let's say, colder tire condition at the start better, and are able to take another level with their driving and then improve the position in the race. So a lot of difference between the drivers, and obviously it's always good to keep the strength, the good parts, but always improve also the areas where you feel like there's margin to improve.
There's progress to be made. We were watching Cyril Choksi come into the pit lane. Let's take a look at the results in full then from our Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli Am qualifying session before we get the Pirelli drivers out there for their quali. And as you can see, it was David Musial with a fine pole position, P1, a 1:24.428, ahead of Cyril Choksi, P2. Then it was Chris Cagnazzi, Sebastian Mascaro, Tony Davis, Brian Cook, Ofer Levi. John Horsch then, the top 8 places ahead of Jay Logan, Frank Szczesniak and Omar Balkasoon. So that's the way our 11 Pirelli Am drivers performed during their very short, sharp qualifying session. And of course, all the telltales will be in the race to come a little bit later today, live from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 30 laps of hot rock race action to come from our Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers. Pirelli drivers will be out next for their qualifying session, and that will bring to a conclusion our qualifying sessions for today. As I was saying earlier on, I just love the drama, if you like, of short, sharp qualifying sessions. It's great to be able to talk about. And Dave Musial, well done, sir. Ferrari of Lake Forest, P1 in that Trofeo Pirelli AM qualifying, and he's with Shea.
For the first time this year, Dave Musial, pole sitter. Now, we've had Dave Musial 2.0 on pole.
Right.
How much grief has he been giving you since Laguna, saying, come on, Dad, step up, it's your turn?
Oh, I always get grief. We give each other grief back and forth, but he's my motivation. He's been doing it a lot less than I have, but his determination and his ability. I remember when he did Club Challenge, I said, you know what, you're going to beat me, and when you do, you better be smiling, and you better spray the champagne on your dad.
Well, you've been the bridesmaid 4 times this year. Do you think this pole position might be the key to you getting a first win and then spraying him with champagne a little later?
Ooh, I hope so. You know, there's a lot of really fast guys. The competition in Ferrari Challenge has stepped up so much over the last few years. I hope for the best. I pray for the best, but, you know, it's going to be a battle.
It'll be a well-earned victory if it does come for you today. Good luck later on in the race, and congrats on pole.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well done, Dave Musial. What a star you are. He's done it then. He is P1, and they're a wonderful family. I remember, you may recall, I was mentioning when I was taken out for a lap here at Indianapolis. Dave and Dave 2.0 were standing by as I was shoehorned into this car, laughing every step of the way to see the anxiety on my face. So, great people. Man that does double duty then is Jason McCarthy. We were talking about him just a few moments ago because he was out qualifying in the 488 Challenge. Now he's in the 296 Challenge car. He drives in the Pirelli category of the 296 Challenge by dint of the red strip across the top of the windscreen. He's out there, as are a number of other drivers as well, including Roberto Perina, the Ferrari of Seattle driver, who had a very, very good showing in the number 55 car, incidentally, at Sonoma, where he took a P2 and a race win and a couple of pole positions as well. So that should give him some confidence here at Indianapolis. Let's see how they do. It's another qualifying session underway, Tony.
Yeah, these Pirelli drivers, these are our fastest and the most experienced drivers. We've seen great racing, great character with these drivers. So Jason McCarthy, a little bit of up and down also for him in the season. Win, and the next race is struggling to be in top 5. We've seen Perina really aggressive at the race starts in general. Dylan Medler occasionally just flying away from the others, and the races after struggling with the balance of the race cars. So there's been a lot of variables with this Pirelli, in this Pirelli category with the performance, and I always like to always see also the young driver Kompang just in the picture now. So Matthias, I used to race with his father way back. I think we won races like Spa 24 Hours. We did the FIA GT for several years in the same team with AF Corse, and now to see his son, who at the time was a very young man, and now racing in Ferrari Challenge in Pirelli category, and he promoted himself from Pirelli AM during this season to a Pirelli class, and it's just amazing to see his performance, and sadly to realize that I'm getting old.
Comes to all of us, Tony. Trust me, yeah, I wish I was as old as you. Let's see how Dave Musial 2.0 does now. Of course, he's just seen his father get pole position in the Pirelli AM class, so there's an incentive for 2.0 to emulate his father's success in qualifying. Let's see if he can do it as he hugs the concrete wall off the back of turn 14 and breaks the timing beam and gives us our first time, which is a 1:25.951. I'm sure that the times will come down from that. It's Jason McCarthy, actually, who's just gone fastest for the Pirelli drivers with a 1:25.127. Dave Musial Jr. Is P2, then it's Roberto Perina and Joe Rubo. They occupy the first 4 places in the Pirelli before Michael Porter adds to that little party as well. He's gone 4th fastest and relegates Joe Rubo. And of course, we will see a time from this young man then. A very talented young driver is Matias Perez Companc then for Ferrari of Central Florida as he breaks the timing beam now. And by Jiminy, he has lain down the gauntlet with a 1:24.428. It's P1 for Companc, but not quite as dominant as I expected. And in fairness, Tony, as you've just pointed out, identical times in Pirelli Am and Pirelli.
Yeah, that's impressive to see exactly the same lap time by thousands, you know, between the Pirelli Am, Paul Cedar, Musil, and now with Matias. But I think Matias still has some performance on the tire. Like I said, with the 296, I think you need to be even a bit more progressive with the way you put the pressure on the tires and everything. So the tires just give more performance and the balance gets better. So I think we need to see the end of this session just to see how the performance works out.
As Dave Musial Jr. then gives us our first time in the 23s, a 1:23.672. He's gone quickest. Then it was Jason McCarthy with a 1:24.236. So 5.5 tenths down on Dave Musial 2.0. They are P1 and P2. And you can see the drivers all crossing the lines here. Keep an eye on Dylan Medler. He could be one to watch here in this qualifying session. And Dylan yet to set a meaningful lap time, because as you can see from the left-hand side of the screen, he's P7 at the moment. We would expect him to go potentially quicker than that, as Matias Perez Companc then, he joins the exclusive 123 club with a 1:23.470. And this is Dylan Medler then, also choosing to race in Europe as well. And this looks quick from Dylan Medler as he hugs the concrete and crosses the timing beam. And sure enough, Dylan Medler goes 3rd fastest. And it's very, very close, just a couple of tenths really between the top 3 drivers across our Trofeo Pirelli qualifying thus far. So there is Dylan Medler accelerating away, and Matias Perez Companc then P1 at the moment. This is Jason McCarthy, but here comes Dave Musial 2.0 to cross the timing line. And Matias Perez Companc does the same, a 1:23.470. And there are now 3 drivers in that, because Dylan Medler posting that 1:23.744. Make that 4-5 drivers in the 1:23s now, because Roberto Perina for Ferrari of Seattle all getting in there. So you can really see how the tyres are beginning to work and bring those lap times down.
Yeah, driver in 3rd position, Dylan Medler, also racing in Europe. He was in Nürburgring and he did 3rd place in Pirelli race 1. So also he is gathering a lot of experience and measuring his speed against the best drivers in the world with these Ferrari Challenge cars. Here we see Dylan Medler in action with car number 15, beautiful livery as well. Really using that inside curve, a little bit of dust coming up in the air, and let's see his lap time. I think he has a chance, because I think he's his 2nd flyer now.
Well, he crosses the timing line. He's just off, wasn't he?
Yeah, didn't improve. Yeah, let's see. I think it will be difficult to improve now, as we've seen Musil, Companc and Medler post their lap time. So now it's up to the driver really take it to a next level and really fight the car, because you're starting to lose a little bit of grip from the tires and you still want to improve the place you're at.
Well, Dave Musial 2.0 crosses the timing line, and that actually it vindicates what you're saying, Tony, in terms of, you know, you get this little window of opportunity, seize that window and deliver what you can when you can, as we watch the number 22 car of Michael Porter, then the Ferrari of Seattle driver, as he comes off that final turn number 14 here at Indianapolis, and crosses the timing line and stays P6. So it's Companc from Dave Musial 2.0, then Dylan Medler, Jason McCarthy, Roberto Perina, Michael Porter and Joe Rubo. They are the top 7. And Dylan Medler then 3rd fastest. He's going again, as you can see the times. The clock is on the Dylan Medler car, although not sure that's at race pace as he comes into the pit lane. Something that's really curious about the Ferrari Challenge, Tony, and you made mention of the fact that Dylan Medler took a podium in Nürburgring last weekend when he was racing with our European drivers as well, is the interchange that is available to Ferrari Challenge drivers. If you want to go off and compete in perhaps the Japan Series or the European Series or whatever, you can do that.
Yeah, that's beautiful, because Sometimes you grow up in your own nation's championship and you do the same racetracks. Even in US, you have beautiful tracks, the ones that for me are one of the best in the world, but still it's a great experience to go to Spa or go to Nürburgring and then measure your speed. Jason McCarthy really brushing that wall in the exit of turn 14, so
Just
that was
as you were
close.
talking, I very nearly fell off my seat because that was so close. Well done, Jason McCarthy. He's fourth fastest. We've got just under a minute remaining in this qualifying session. I think we've seen the best times, truthfully, as Joe Rubo, his best time, a 1:24.635. That's seventh fastest for Joe Rubo. 1:23 for the top four drivers. They're all in the 23s. They're all split by only 5/10. It's so close, Tony, and I mean across the whole gamut of Pirelli drivers. There isn't even a second in it, really.
Yeah, I think with the Pirelli drivers, we see that the performance, we see more the peak of the tires because the lap times are faster and you just know how to use the tire, and then there comes the limit. You cannot stay there for many laps at the same performance. Just to give you a comparison, 23.3 would have been a competitive lap time in the 8 hours of Indy last year in GT3. So that just shows the speed of these cars. And if somebody is thinking that, yeah, but Challenge is different compared to GT3, 296 Challenge car is fast, I can guarantee you that. I came in here proud of my lap times earlier in our Club GT session. Suddenly I forgot them. I'm not going to mention them anymore.
Oh, Tony. Right, the session is done and dusted. The checkered flag is out, as is always the case. Of course, any driver that's on a hot lap can continue that hot lap, but truthfully, no one is. And I think we've got our, conclusion to the qualifying session. Truthfully, and it's going to be Matthias Perez Compact MP1 ahead of Dave Musial 2.0 and Dylan Medler P3. That's how it will be for Trofeo Pirelli for their race to come this afternoon. A great qualifying show that we've seen across all our categories. Well done to all the drivers there. You can see the Ferrari of Central Florida car. You can see there Lucio Vigani, who is the Pirelli Motorsport Manager for Ferrari Challenge. He's there with the pressure. I mean, Pirelli, you know, they're scientific in terms of the research they do with these tyres.
Yeah, with Lucio, I meet all over the world in the Ferrari hospitalities. You are here this weekend. Yes, I follow all the Ferrari Challenge races, and yeah, for Pirelli, they always monitor the tires, the pressures, the camber. They want to know where these teams are at, and this also gives an indication for the future, how to develop the tire, how to always move forward. So Pirelli is very well informed where things are, so this very, very big and key element also for the future to see and decide in which direction to take the development.
Yes, it is very much a partnership with Ferrari and Pirelli. Okay, let's take a look at the results confirmed and classified in full for our Ferrari Challenger Pirelli drivers on screen for you. Matthias Perez Compact then, 3/10 quicker than anybody else with a 1:23.373. It's Dave Musial 2.0 P2, Dylan Medler P3, Jason McCarthy P4, Roberto Perina P5, Michael Porter P6, and Joe Rubo then P7. Look how close it was across those 7 drivers in Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli. Big thanks to Tony Verlander for joining us. He's going to go out now and try and emulate lap times that we've seen as he gets into his racing car. So good luck, Tony, and thank you for being with us. And there you can see congratulations there. Billy Sutton offering congratulations to Matthias Perez Compact and Lucio Vigani and the Pirelli team down there, as I said, working, as Tony said, working with those wonderful Pirelli tyres that have given the grip necessary for Matthias Perez Compact to deliver a fine lap time, a 1:23.373. Crash helmet, hands device coming off, then of course fireproof balaclava, then he will be accosted, if I may be so bold, by Shea Adam, I'm sure, with the Rotiform Pole Position Award. So Matthias Perez Compact, then the best of our Pirelli drivers, a 1:23.373. And he's on pole position, and Shea has him.
Not accosting him, Dave, I promise, at all. Your 4th pole position. How good does this feel, Matthias, to get it done here at Indy?
No, great to be on pole for such a historic track. a new track for me, so I think I adapted quite well, and the car was rapid thanks to the team AF Corse. So yeah, great.
What are you doing with all these pole awards? You've got so many now.
Yeah, I keep collecting them and just taking it home.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done to Matthias Perez-Koppang, and well done, Shea, for getting him so quickly. That's it for our qualifying show. Please make sure you join us just after 2 p.m. this afternoon, as we will go racing live from Indianapolis with the Ferrari Challenge. From Tony, myself, and from Shea Adam. For the moment, bye-bye.